It's 5 o'clock in Pirate Country, and it's time to get pumped up with the P-Man. Hit the door and hit the road. 94.3 The Game is going to get you home, and the P-Man's not holding back.
Yes! Yes! Pirates win! Pirates win!
Bring on the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Holy mackerel! Oh, my goodness!
The flagship station of the ECU Pirates.
It is a Baseball Tuesday. We've got ECU on their spring break trip, and nothing college kids look more forward to than spring break in Richmond at the Diamond. So we'll take you out there at the quarter till, and then top of the hour have the first pitch from the capital of the Commonwealth. It's nice to have you along. Patrick Johnson, Philip the Ref Pilkington is here. And we'll hear from Mike Swartz. A lot of basketball to talk. We'll get into some of that in this opening segment. But on our opening drive today, it's always a huge deal to be talking to one of the major stars of the broadcast and online industry, and that would be Stephen Igoe. Anytime we have Igoe on the show, I know that there will be lots of people happy because people love Igoe. People love the Igoe. So here he is, Stephen Igoe, with us here. Well, you just thinned him out. Can you thin me out like that, Pilk? For the video audience, they just made Igoe look thinner, and he's already rail thin.
He was wider than his little box.
I see that, but
You're
you made him look thinner.
Weight.
Can you make me look thinner? Make me look thinner,
try.
Pilk. Do that right now. Get on that. All right. Stephen, how are you? Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. Good to talk to you. There we go. Perfect. That's exactly what it needs to look like there. Mashed like that. I still look fat-faced. What in the world? All right. Igoe, let's start with baseball tonight, since that's what's being played at the top of the hour. You know, I look at the team, and there's moments I think, all right, this is pretty good. And there's moments I think, still got a little ways to go. Thus, the record would indicate a team that looks pretty good at times and still has a way to go at other times.
Yeah, I mean, look, right now they're a 500 baseball team. And against a tougher schedule, although, you know, you look at some of the games outside of North Carolina and Coastal, which comprises a good chunk of your first 15 games. Those are obviously against elite teams. But, you know, the loss to Campbell, which has not had a very good season to this point, and, you know, not sweeping George Mason, not that they're a bad team. I think they've won 6 or 7 in a row against some poor quality or some poor competition. So the schedule's been tough, but losing some of those early games hurts your overall record. Then obviously 1-5 against the top 25 teams. But you think about it, you're one hit away in that Saturday game in Durham. ECU had like the bases loaded, or second and third, 3 straight innings, left 8 on base in those middle innings, lost 2-0 in a very winnable game. Then Sunday against Coastal, 1 for 16, runners in scoring position in an eventual 1-run loss. So, you know, if those 2 games, if you get 1 hit in those 2 games, you're feeling completely different right now, but you didn't. And so you are what your record says you are. You're 7-8. The schedule does lighten up. It's a chance to potentially get right, depending on what happens with all this sickness and if you can show up and take care of business. But, you know, you're still dealing with a very inexperienced team. And I know Cliff Godwin says, like, he doesn't like that narrative, but that is the reality. And they're having to learn on the fly here. And hopefully now that they've kind of gone through the toughest part of the schedule, it gets a little bit easier and guys know what to expect. But they still got to show up and win baseball games. And stacking wins is something we've seen ECU baseball do in the past, but this is not the same ECU baseball team right now. So still a lot of work to do both on the mound and at the plate, specifically when it comes to throwing strikes on the mound and not striking out in key moments at the plate.
Some of those Gavin Williams, Trey Savage outings that I know you saw and I've seen and had a chance to call a few of them, those were some pretty special things. Multi-strikeout, double-digit strikeout performances, dominance at times. I don't think, though, I've ever seen a pitching performance in person, ECU player or not, that was as dominant as Ethan Norby was the other night. It was really remarkable. He could throw any pitch. Didn't have, a heater that he was blowing by people, but in sort of Maddox-like fashion was spotting it very, very well and would work ahead in counts, and the rest was history against what proved to be a pretty good hitting team. So for your money, Igoe, is that the best pitching performance you've ever seen, period, in person, otherwise? And certainly it has to be the best ECU pitch. I mean, when Gary Overton Coach O says best performance I've seen from a Pirate. That carries a lot of weight.
I agree. I think it's undoubtedly the best I've seen. Now, I listened to the Jake Coochman perfect game at Maryland, but did not get to see it. I don't think it was on TV. So that obviously would rank up there. Perfect game and 19 strikeout performances are more rare than no hitters, which you can still throw by walking 4 or 5 guys. But I just feel like Norby's pure dominance. And this early in the season, it's rare to go into the 8th inning as a starting pitcher. I mean, guys are still around 100 pitches. So to strike out 19 guys and to do it against 0 walks and 0 hit by pitches, his strikeout to walk ratio is 40-2 through 3 games or 4 starts, excuse me. And obviously a big portion of that came this past week. But when you're talking about striking out the first 9 guys, 16 of the first 18 batters faced, that's not even something you can do on MLB The Show rookie mode if you're trying to with the best pitcher in the game, like Shohei Ohtani at full strength.
Right.
It shouldn't be possible, especially from a guy who's not throwing 98 miles per hour in college, which just speaks to how deceptive Norby is, how quickly he works, how dominant he was in the zone. I mean, he made those guys look stupid, and it's just I sat on the third base line for a good chunk of the game taking pictures and seeing how late they were on his fastball, which mainly sat 90 to 92, just shows how much life it has, shows how much it gets on the hitters. And when he's in the zone and he's pitching, working quickly, clearly he can make teams look stupid, and he has now through 4 starts.
The definitive voice of coverage of the Pirates is the one and only Stephen Igoe. It's great to have him on the Patrick Johnson Show. We got Pirate baseball, one of 2 games played in Virginia coming up. You got VCU, then William and Mary. So the Commonwealth Cup week and a 5-game week. What do we know? What have you heard, Ryan Towers and Antelik, as far as those 2 getting back into the lineup? Brett Antelik.
So we asked, it's been about a week now. We asked Cliff Godwin last week for an update there. At that time, he said, Towers was just picking up a baseball after dealing with some arm soreness. He did say the MRI was completely clean, no structural damage. So my assumption is either he had some sort of inflammation that they were just waiting to calm down, or it just didn't feel right. I'm not a doctor, but that just following baseball arm injuries from Major League Baseball coverage over the years, that's typically how it works. So they gave it time. He will likely not be pitching in a game unless it, fully progresses until at the earliest, I would say late March, probably more maybe towards April, depending on how they feel with him. Brett Antelik, the Texas A&M transfer, he has pitched and thrown off a mound. He is closer, probably looking at more towards latter March. So he would be probably ahead of schedule at last check, ahead of Towers. Now, both those guys do project as potential weekend guys, but it's not as simple as, hey, they're back. Let's go out there and throw Antelik 5 innings on a Saturday. They could conceivably say, hey, let's work up his pitch count to 30, 40 pitches and then have him go 50 in a Sunday start and have him work, 2-3 innings. That's possible. Or they could choose to go, hey, let's throw him in the bullpen non-stress route. However they want to play it could depend on how the team's looking at that point. But I would say both those guys probably still a few weeks away, with Antelik being a little bit ahead of Antelik being a little bit ahead of Towers right now.
And whatever's ailing Towers, as you say, with the arm stuff, has not affected his dance moves. So that's always
that's
a
true.
good thing to see.
He can still dance quite a bit.
He's a much better dancer than Jake Hunter. I love Jake Hunter's dance moves, but Towers has got him beat.
I would put a little bit of Towers. It's not quite as bad as Elaine from Seinfeld, but it's between that and Hunter. Yeah, the Jake Hunter. Did they designate a guy to do that? Does somebody lose a bet? Is that a kangaroo court thing, or did they just sort of somebody take the mantle as I'm going to be the dancing pitcher this year?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a thing where, because Hunter did it last year even when he was not hurt, right? So it's one of those things. Yeah. I guess if you're a pitcher and you got some energy and you feel like the team needs a spark, you break out the dance moves. But I'll be honest, not that Ryan Towers has done a bad job, but maybe it's time to switch up the mojo a little bit, go with somebody else, because these home games with big crowds haven't exactly been breaking the Pirates' way lately.
I want to see Patrick out there dancing.
You'll never see that. Riley Johnson, Igoe. What are we hearing on Riley Johnson's pending return?
So he had an MRI last week. the result of the MRI, according to Cliff Godwin, after the Gardner-Webb game was some sort of tendonitis, is what he said. And I guess the groin, hip, and abdomen region. I don't know the exact diagnosis, but that is what Cliff said. They did a pretty in-depth MRI. And so that was the thought at that time. He said at least 2 more weeks. And again, Riley has been throwing in the outfield before games, and he's been taking batting practice. So he's still trying to do some. He's able to do some baseball activities. The issue is when he's trying to run, sprinting, but then trying to slow down. And so much of his game, as you guys know, is based on his run ability. So when you're running full speed and trying to make a play in the outfield, if you're not able to do that and stop and cut and all that, as a center fielder and as a primary base stealer and leadoff guy, if that's more than half your game, what good are you to come back and either get re-injured or not be 100%? So I think, if he could go out there right now and not be 100% and maybe risk re-injury, I think they're just trying to get him in a spot where once he's back, he's able to continue on the rest of the season and ideally not have any more discomfort. I don't know how realistic that is, but essentially they're trying to just wait it out as long as possible and then get him back full. But I think he's close. It's just a matter of how it continues to progress from week to week.
Should be favored when you come out there today and tomorrow against VCU. They've struggled a little bit. William and Mary, last I saw, struggling a little bit also. So 5 games in a week. You're doing it when guys are sick and you've got this flu or whatever it is running through the clubhouse. But, I mean, a chance, at least on paper, to try to get things, as you said, you're through that really difficult part of the schedule and a chance to kind of get back on track and get some momentum going.
Yeah, I've kind of viewed this week, Patrick, as a get-right week. And, again, it's tough to say that when half your team is dealing with sickness, as Cliff Godwin told you and I yesterday, like they're taking up multiple vans to try and limit the sickness being spread. And so clearly, Cliff is not one to make excuses, but they're having some big issues here. He mentioned Colby Wallace running down the line, and I just thought when that happened, I was like, man, is Colby that slow? Like I remember him being pretty fast because he got turned on a double play that he had no business being turned on, and it didn't even go through my mind at the time. Maybe he's sick. I was just like, man, Colby, I guess he's just is not fast. It turns out he was just like almost deathly sick, still trying to play through it, which makes more sense now. And, so it does affect performance. And when you have that going through your team and a spring break trip on the road, that's not ideal, but it is an opportunity for guys to step up and get in a better headspace against, let's be honest, lesser competition. Now, VCU was in ECU's regional last year. They were a very good team last year. They lost their coach. They lost some significant pieces. I think that the midweek games is going to be tougher. William and Mary on the mound has been pretty horrific. ERA over 10. I think you really have a chance to stack some wins this weekend. So if you can find a way to at least split in the midweek, I think you feel okay. If you take both, I think you feel really good. 4-1 is my expectation for the week. I don't think you can ever expect to go 5-0. It's baseball. Crazy things happen, but certainly a chance to get back on track this week.
Let's talk basketball. Certainly not the end of the season that you wanted. You get a 3rd game now against UTSA after beating them in overtime in what was really a fun game to watch. Good game the night before the Super Bowl in San Antonio that came down to the last second. So the Pirates are coming back there. They sort of reverted back to just horrific shooting and weren't really tough inside. Now, look, I'm a big advocate of you tip your hat sometimes, and FAU knocking in, what was it, like 8 threes after it was tied early at 9. Sometimes you just got to tip your hat. But, certainly not finishing the way that you had hoped and how good everybody kind of felt after beating Tulane in that game where I think it was the most complete performance that ECU had this year in basketball. So going to the tournament, we say wide open, but obviously Memphis would seem to be the prohibitive favorite in this thing. But can the Pirates make a little noise and make this interesting?
We had the conversation on my show earlier today, and I picked North Texas over FAU. in the championship. Philip and I each filled out a bracket just to get ready for next week, our American Athletic Conference tournament bracket. To kind of show you how wide open it is, I had North Texas over FAU. He had Tulane over North Texas. I have Memphis losing, and this is, probably a little bit of a strong take, but I have Memphis losing their first game to Wichita State, who they lost in the regular season. I think Memphis in this environment, they're already in. Do they really show up motivated? I don't know. I mean, they're clearly the best team. I would take the field. ECU, we had a question from a listener, who is our dark horse to win the conference? Philip went with Wichita. I honestly think the winner of ECU UTSA has a chance to make a run. I mean, ECU is one of three teams, that has multiple players on the all-conference first team. The other two are Memphis and North Texas. So you've got two of the top 10 players in the league. Jordan Riley obviously accounts for your other in the big three. Anytime you've got two or three of the best players in the league, you have a chance. If they play their best basketball at the right time, you've got a shot. ECU obviously swept UTSA in the regular season. They beat UAB, and they lost to North Texas in a close game. They went 3-1 against the teams that they would likely play in the scenario. They have to make it to the championship game, and then if you make it to the championship game, well, at that point, you just take your best shot. But the UTSA game is tricky because, as you mentioned, ECU won both. They are probably the best, at least most scary team amongst the lower seeds because of how good they can shoot the ball. They're shooting like 36% from three-point range. They score close to 80 points a game. So that is a concern for me. If ECU has another bad shooting night, which they avoided against UTSA the first two times, they could be in trouble. But they definitely have a chance to make some noise, but there's certainly no gimme opener against the Roadrunners.
It's in vogue now to have, and this Pilkington, Igoe, very angry over this.
Yeah.
Pilkington, put yourself on the screen. Show your face. Pilkington, very angry that there are 400 people on these all-conference teams. And I'd have to admit that's a little bizarre. I think the ACC did like 15 for the women, which just seems
15 first-teamers?
Yeah, for the women. Well, they got
to be fair,
for every team.
Yeah,
one
to
for
be fair,
every
they have
team,
like 19
Pilkington.
teams. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
you
does
got
everybody have
400
to get a
teams.
trophy? Why the hell does everybody have to get a first-team all-conference member? What happened to earning stuff in this country? Are we supposed to get handouts now?
Pilkington, you don't have a team with 5 people. You at least have a rotation of 7 or 8, so you have to have a team of...
Oh, my goodness.
It stands to reason you have a team of 10.
You don't put 8 receivers on the all-conference team. You just do like 3 in football.
Well, we're getting to the point where we're going to start putting a bunch of people on all these
yeah,
teams.
we're going to do 3 tight ends for 13 personnel.
I think that both guys deserve that consideration. Now, if we broke it down, they're probably second-team guys if it were the old-school traditional way. But we don't do anything traditional old-school anymore, much to the chagrin of Pilk. He wants you off his lawn.
I do. Darn kids.
I mean, even the American last year, guys, had 3 teams that were 5 players apiece. A first team with 5 players, a second team with 5 players, and a third team with 5 players. So now, why did they go to a first and second team with 10 players apiece? Like, why? I guess we don't know. Participation trophies.
But it's not like they've put the 12th man on there. To me, where it gets a little watered down is if you start doing this and you go that deep. There aren't 30 players in each league. If you go third team that deep, but then why not just do honorable mention? I don't who. Maybe I might be with Pilk here, Igoe. This could be the wussification of America even further. I might be with Igoe or with that Pilk on this one. Yeah.
I am happy for RJ and CJ though. So that
no,
that
I
is
am
the
very
one
happy
positive.
for CJ and RJ. That those two played really, really well this year. How does all this? Obviously, you got to start over in a matter of weeks, days, possibly. If you're Mike Schwartz, now you do have, I think, a core if you can retain them to build off of. Maybe a little more ahead of where you were last year. I think next year with the schedule, we're hearing some interesting things, some dates that could be attractive to possible people. But it also just comes down to got to get some money got to get some money to go towards NIL. And I think they feel like they'll have some money in rev share. I think they feel like they'll be able to be competitive in that space, relatively speaking. So
that's an unknown.
But is there anything that he could attract people to? Look, hey, we play this style that's athletic, that is fun. It's a great environment. I mean, how do you you attract if you're Mike Schwartz and staff to when you got to do the rebuild?
It's a good question because it's an unknown right now what the NIL situation is going to look like with basketball. I mean, I don't know if I know they still have some money in the bank for football and retention there, but how much money has been given to men's basketball, I don't know. You really till halfway through the conference season, people were not on board with spending more money on NIL. And so I thought at that point you were looking at more revenue sharing. Now, if ECU goes the 75% revenue share to football, 15% to men's basketball, split 5% to women's basketball, 5% to other sports, as many schools are, you'll have probably comparable, if not a little bit more money than what you had in NIL this year to spend. So you should at least have around the same budget, but those payments cannot start until July 1st, assuming all this actually goes through in April. So right. I don't know if let's say you don't have the NIL money in hand. Do you come up with contracts to say, hey, we'll start paying you July 1 for X amount of dollars once this goes through? That's what other teams have done with rev share. Even dating back to football portal recruiting in the winter, they've signed agreements saying once rev share goes final, here's what we're going to pay you as an athletic department. So there's different ways around it. You just got to know what your budget is. I do know John Gilbert has been working on these things behind the scenes for anticipation of this, along with the rest of his athletic department. But it's kind of an unknown. I don't get the vibe there's a ton of money in basketball NIL right now for the immediate future, and that's a problem because you're going to have to pay Jordan Riley if you want to retain him, and you're going to have to pay like a guy like Jay Shane Woodard, and you're going to have to pay to get a replacement for R.J. Felton and C.J. Walker. I mean, those guys were making six figures this year apiece. And so that is something that they're going to have to find some cash from somewhere to try to replicate that success.
What is the overall health of the NIL right now? Because I thought this was what was going to be the big concern, after last year when you heard, okay, they raised 1 point whatever million. This is recurring. This isn't like, okay, I'm going to stroke you a check and you're going to slap my name on a nice plaque and I can point it out to everybody when we walk by there. I mean, that's not how this works.
Yeah, for football, I think it's in pretty good shape. They had around $1 million last year. I think they kind of budgeted for 1.25 to 1.5. I haven't heard recently what the exact number is, and they probably don't even want me to know. But I think they're over $1 million. And I don't think they've spent all that money for football. But I think with revenue sharing becoming a thing, the concern is once all this passes, you're going to have a bunch of people saying, all right, hey, star receiver at AAC school X, come to the ACC, we can pay you, this much money through revenue sharing. So I think ECU wants some reserve funds. So when that does happen, they can give a guy a raise, so to speak. I mean, all this stuff is it sounds asinine, but it's the reality we're living in as a college athletic, reporters right now. And it's just a weird time. And I think the NIL as a whole is healthy for ECU considering the level of playing field they're at. But there's also the reality that once revenue sharing goes live, Team Boneyard will still exist, but also a lot of the payments will go more in-house instead of relying on, Team Boneyard to run a lot of that stuff. It'll be more supplemental payments, I believe, from Team Boneyard, whereas revenue sharing will do a lot of the payments to star quarterback.
Still going to have to get an eye. I think people have got to get it through their skulls. This is where we are now.
One way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, this is and just because the athletic department's going to handle payments, it's not going to be enough. I mean,
you still need as much money as possible.
Yeah, you need as much money as possible, and we could have debates on where you could pull that from all day. All right, before spring football starts, what's the big overarching story going into the spring?
I think definitely just continuing to see the development. For me, for football, it's I think they're going to be pretty good offensively, and defense is what I'm looking to see. Like, how does it look? Blake Harrell, the head coach, I think the scheme is going to be similar, but they lost pretty much the entire defensive front, minus J.D. Lampley and Raheem Craig. Linebacker pretty much totally rebuilt in terms of guys playing You lost most of the secondary room. I mean, there is a ton of new personnel. But talking to people within the program, I think they feel better about the new personnel than maybe us outsiders do. So I'm looking forward to seeing the spring how it looks. I think the offense, they feel really good about some of the pieces they brought in to replace last year's offensive production. And then just, as far as other sports, baseball, when did the wins start to stack up? Because it's good to have the narrative, hey, we'll be playing our best baseball at the end of the year. And I do think that is the case for ECU, but they can't be saying that for 3 or 4 more weeks. Eventually, you got to start having some wins, or else you're not going to have an at-large case for the NCAA tournament. And then, of course, in hoops, we'll see what happens with the conference tournament. And then it's going to go quick with the portal, who leaves, who stays, and how does Mike Schwartz build on this success? As you mentioned, can he sell that, or is it going to be all about money once again?
It's going to be all about money, I fear. All right, good stuff, Igoe. Thanks a lot. You can listen to Steve and Igoe, Hoist the Colors Radio, noontime on 94.3 The Game, Monday through Friday, and, of course, 24/7 at Hoist the Colors online. Thank you, Igoe, very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Patrick. I did want to congratulate you as well on going viral over the weekend. I know that was a big moment for you.
It was. I looked last night, 36 million.
Wow.
Was the number I saw last night with the docile tones of old PJ. Not so docile today. A little under the weather, playing hurt, but that's how we roll. But thank you, Igoe. Look, you never know what's going to happen at the ballpark. That's the beauty of sport. So
that is true. Just show up, because that surprise is always worth it. So we'll catch you next time, man.
All right, there he goes. Steve and Igoe, ladies and gentlemen. We got Pirate Baseball coming up in a few minutes. We'll hit some audio for Pilk, do you want to do a break next, or do an update next, and then we'll just wrap the show with a couple pieces of audio?
Yeah, that works.
What do you think of that audible? All right, so Philip the Rep Pilkington with a 94.3 The Game Sports Flash update when we come back in Pirate Report, and then we'll wrap up the program.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern living's best small town.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Your roof is a vital part of protecting your home and family from dangerous storms and hurricanes. At Assist Roofing, we install and maintain metal roofing that provides precise protection. Add value to your home while lowering utility costs with a fortified roof to last a lifetime. With 0% financing, grants, and Energy Star Green Roofing tax credit available. Call us to schedule a free consultation so you can weather any storm with confidence.
Philip Pilkington here with your 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. Last night on the hard court, the women's basketball season came to an end at the hands of the Mean Green of North Texas, 69-58. Coach Kim McNeil says the Pirates will get back to the drawing board.
Obviously, this one hurts. You know, we were hoping to make another run in the tournament like we've done the last 2 years. But, you know, we'll go back to the drawing board and have a good off season and continue to work and make sure we're back here next year, but ending in a different way.
Moving over to the men's side of college basketball, the all-conference American honors were put out today. C.J. Walker and R.J. Felton both were named to the first team. Memphis's P.J. Haggerty was the player of the year, and their coach, Penny Hardaway, was the coach of the year. The Pirates will open up the conference tournament on Thursday night against UTSA. Coach Schwartz on what his team needs to do to come out victorious.
What we have to do is try to play to our identity. Our identity isn't going to match their identity.
Baseball will be back in action tonight, and that game will be just brought to you here in a few minutes. It'll be at 5:45 airtime for that just after 6 o'clock first pitch between the Pirates and VCU. Elsewhere in Pirate Athletics last night, lacrosse team fell to San Diego State 17-16. They will continue their California road trip tomorrow at 4 o'clock when they take on UC Davis. No stream options, at least that I have seen so far for that one. A lot of moves in the NFL today, so we're just going to tell you about a pair of them. Daniel Jones, former Duke quarterback and quarterback of the New York Giants, has signed a one-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts worth $14 million. And in Carolina Panthers news, they are releasing running back Miles Sanders. That'll do it for your 94.3 The Game Sports Flash Update and Pirate Report. We're going to take our final time out here on the Patrick Johnson Show. Be back to wrap it up with more from Coach Schwartz on the other side.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville. Do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers. Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Pirate fans, 2025 East Carolina football season tickets are on sale now and can be purchased for as little as $115. Head coach Blake Harrell wants you to be a part of his first full season as the Pirate coach as he builds momentum off of the 8-win season and the Military Bowl win over North Carolina State. Call 1-800-DIAL-ECU or go to ECUPirates.com today to get your 2025 season tickets.
And now, the stunning conclusion of the show. It's the P-Man here on 94.3 The Game.
The American, as much grief as we are giving them about the 10-man first teams, which all the other conferences are doing too. I mean, let's not get it confused here. I love the fact that they did, they gave Penny Hardaway the Coach of the Year, and he earned it. I thought he was the best coach, did the best job. Memphis has had a heck of a year. I think Memphis will win the tournament. Could be wrong on that. I kind of disagree with you guys, Pilk. I think Memphis stands to win the tournament because I just think they're better than everybody else and will find a way. They want to go into – they're firmly in the field of 68. They want to make sure that they can make some noise now in that field. The other thing that I thought the league did that was really smart, Pilk, was Abdur Rahim – naming him the honorary coach of the year. Of course, his tragic passing before the season started. But then they've also named the public service or person of the year kind of award after him in his honor, sportsmanship. So a good move by the American on that front.
I agree. Yeah, 100%. He was a great coach, great man. He obviously only coached in the conference for 1 year, but I think definitely left his mark both on and off the basketball court. His quality act, it was amazing what he did last year at South Florida. And it's unfortunate, or tragic. I shouldn't say unfortunate, tragic the way that he passed, and it was very sad news. And very much respect to the American for the way they handled that.
Let's hear from Mike Swartz as the Pirates will play on Thursday night, 9 o'clock, probably closer to 9:30. What went wrong against FAU? What happened?
I thought that their size, length, and offensive ability in the first half, after the first 10 minutes, it's a 9-9 game. I think we go up 11-9, whatever it may be. It's a very close game here. And then we took a quick shot. They hit a three, and it seemed to, it almost felt like a snowball effect. The made threes that they were, executing, then in combination with we shot 30% at the rim in the game. And you could feel it in the first, it was our lowest paint/rim execution that we had all year in terms of finishing. Quite honestly, we were really pleased with our ball movement and our passing, getting to the paint, getting the right shots, off-ball cuts, things like that. We just couldn't finish, and I felt like reviewing the tape, looking back, we did not have very good physicality, and their skill and their physicality and length, and that combination, and that's what turned into, obviously, not a very good performance for us.
Coach Swartz on the run that the Pirates are going to try to go on, 4 wins in 4 days.
Really more volume more than anything. I mean, there is nothing other than preparation for game one. And there is time-wise, you look at, hey, we got a game Thursday. We got to travel today. You're going out there a little bit early. So really, and I would think, and this has been my experience as being a coach, and I would say most coaches probably lead into doing this into conference tournament, a little bit volume is down. What you do stays the same. How you do it stays the same, but volume goes down. We played Sunday. Yesterday was preparation, body, physical, rejuvenation day. Today we get in, film, we get our workout in, the guys get a lift in, and we hit the court. But if normally we're sitting here at 90 minutes or an hour 45, we'll shrink that down as we travel. Then when we're on the court tomorrow, we'll do what we do, but it'll be shrunk down tomorrow in Fort Worth.
All right, so more on that as we get later in the week. Pirate baseball coming up at the top of the hour. We're going to be departing in a few minutes and sending you up to the venerable Diamond in Richmond. It's a dump.
I've never been. Have you been, Patrick?
Oh, yeah. The dump 20 years ago, it's even probably a bigger dump today, I have to imagine. Not a great park.
At least we're playing them this year. You know, last year we were supposed to
that's
play them,
true.
it got rained out. Supposed to play them again, got rained out.
Yeah.
We're supposed to play them in the tournament, but
Yeah. But, yeah, that's at least going down this year. No show tomorrow. Oh, by the way, we have, let me see if I can press the right button here.
Tourney opens up on a Tuesday, 20,000.
Little shout out to our guys at Sports Channel 8 from back in the day. The ACC tournament opening up today with classic matchups.
Oh, yeah.
California, Virginia Tech. Classic matchup.
nothing screams ACC tournament like UC Berkeley, baby.
So bad. Hey, how about UNCW tonight?
Looking forward to that.
The only thing that Takeo Siddle has not done is win the CAA championship. Speaking of South Florida and the opening there.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Keep your eyes and ears open.
It's going to be interesting. You know, Delaware's on a heck of a run. Cinderella, 12 seed. Delaware's
They're going to Conference USA next year. Do you know that?
Yeah, playing some FBS football. Look at them, Blue Hens. Hey, they've produced a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
They have.
One of 5 universities to produce a Super Bowl winning quarterback and a president. Not that I think the guy they produced knew he was a president for most of his term, but he was elected.
How about that? I'm going to have you tell me the other 4, but you're going to have to tell me off air. All right. Big Michigan was one of them. I know that.
It is.
Big thanks to Igoe for being on with us. No show tomorrow. See you in the morning on Talk of the Town. And we will catch you back here on Thursday, All Hoops edition leading into Pirate basketball. Take you out to the Diamond in Richmond right after this.